So the first thing we have to talk about when we talk about writing or creating a story or narrative, and this is true with D&D, is character. Character is the core of absolutely every story. With a short story, you can get away a little bit based on plot, but without a compelling character, you're not going to revisit the story. It's an exciting way to integrate the reader because the reader starts to see themselves in the character, the reader starts to identify with the character or be repulsed by the character or any number of interactions, but it's an interactive relationship. With a good plot, you can have a ooh, that's neat moment, which can carry you quite a ways. But without the characters to experience that plot, it's lost in a lot of ways. This becomes a problem with early science fiction from the Golden Age. Not so much earlier, but definitely from the Golden Age up to the 60s, is there kind of a lack of character in a lot of stories. And they become very popular for a short while and then disappear because, same thing is true with setting. A great setting is a good thing to have, and it does create an ooh, that's neat element. But that's not enough. So we need characters. And you need to create these characters. You need to go and you need to make characters which people really want to interact with. And that can be difficult. So, where do we start? Well, look at your goal in making this work. First goal should always be to make the players enjoy this story that you're going to present to them. So, how do we do that? Well, there's any number of ways. Enjoying a story does not mean things always have to be a happy ending. Horror films and tragedies would not exist if enjoying the story meant coming out at the other end feeling positive. No, enjoying a story means that you are engrossed by it. You are immersed in it. And character is the gateway to being immersed in it. If you are watching Hamlet and you do not yell at Hamlet multiple times throughout this narrative, then you are missing the point that Shakespeare is trying to get across, because you should be. Same thing with Romeo and Juliet and any number of other things. There's the Faulty Towers of Frasier plot, which we aren't going to go into because you should never use it, where simple miscommunication results in a cascading series of events. That works if you have someone as good as the writers of Frasier or Faulty Towers. It does not work for anybody else. So, let's make a character. So, the first thing we do with a character is we need to come up not with their race or what they look like or anything like this. You need to come up with what their wants and dreams and fears are. This is crucial because that informs everything else. Who they are bonded to, who they consider important in their life, that's important, and it's very important, but it comes secondary to what they want and what they don't want. A character will be motivated by their dreams and be motivated by their desires, motivated by their fears on a very primal level. So if you can give this character something that's desirable, that is out of their reach, and potentially perpetually out of their reach, then you have a motive for the character. And if you have a motive for a character, you have a reason why they're doing things. And if you have a reason why they're doing things, then they're explicable. In other words, the players will be able to understand what's happening with sufficient information. At first, it may be to your benefit that they don't understand what's happening, but everything that the character does should be understandable from their perspective and their situation. Okay? Because that's the way real world works. People are understandable from their perspective and their situation. So, if you have characters like that, it works. So come up with a desire. a very simple desire, a very complex desire. Come up, if the character's important, come up with multiple desires. Let's make a very simple character, because all sorts of D&D campaigns start in an inn for some reason. I try to avoid this, but even I get stuck doing this on occasion. So, let's make the waiter. The waiter can be male or female, tall, skinny, short, fat, attractive, unattractive. It doesn't matter at this point. The waiter's desire is first to get to the end of their shift. And if you have been waitstaff knows this is true. So they need to get to the end of the shift. They have a bunch of rowdy bumpkins because, let's face it, any group of players will be rowdy bumpkins who are, or worse yet, they'll be sullen and solitary and not doing anything. So you're going to, as the DM and storyteller, you're going to have to motivate things. So the waiter will be there to first be a prop in that they serve the function of bringing item 1 to place 2, give people food and drink. But they can also be the motivator. They want to turn over tables and get that tip, or depending on the inn or restaurant or pub or whatever it is you're starting in, they want to keep everything quiet so they don't have to do as much work. So let them be that way. If you're having trouble motivating your players, the waiter can be a motivating figure. So let's figure out the next stage. When they get to the end of the shift, what do they get? They get paid, they get to go home. Maybe they're afraid of home, in which case that's another layer, and you can have an adventure hook right there. The very first character they meet, the waiter at the pub, is scared of going home because of, and there's a host of things, abusive spouse. The police are waiting for her, or whatever constitutes the local constabulary. Their house was recently broken into. There's 10 rats that need to be killed for 1 coin apiece, if you want to go the whole JRPG grind route. So again, first character, first hook. Each character can be an adventure hook or move the story along, even if they're as basic as waiter, who we haven't even named yet because there probably will never be a name for this character. So we have a motive, and then when we get the motive, we can get to what happens next. And that can start moving the story forward. Okay? What's the waiter afraid of? Not getting paid, not finishing their tip, having to clean up a mess, having to stop a bar brawl, getting killed in a bar brawl, depending on the pub, and so on and so on. So, again, if you know their basic motivations, you can figure out how they will respond in any given situation. And this is, again, the very first character we come up with. So, focus first on what they want, what they desire, what they dream about, what they're afraid of, and the rest will start to build.